You really think she's going to be the one? Brenna's voice dripped with venom as she gestured toward the corner where Maisie stood, clutching her worn apron. The fat kitchen girl? This is too perfect. Maisie felt the familiar burn of shame creep up her neck as the other pack members laughed. She'd learned long ago to make herself small, to disappear into the shadows of the Silvercrest Estate's enormous kitchen. At 24, she'd spent 7 years here as the lowest of servants, not just because she was human in a world of wolves, but because her body didn't fit their ideals of beauty. Where wolf women were lean and lithe, Maisie was soft and round, her thick thighs rubbing together as she walked, her belly prominent beneath her simple gray dress. The Alpha King's twins have gone completely feral, Brenna continued, examining her perfectly manicured nails. 3 nursemaids in the hospital, 2 more refusing to return. Someone needs to go into that nursery and calm those pups before they tear the entire West Wing apart. And I nominate Maisie. She said the name like it tasted bad. The pack's head steward, Garrett, looked uncomfortable. Brenna, this isn't appropriate. The king is in the throne room dealing with the border conflicts. He left instructions that his sons needed to be settled immediately. Are you going to make him wait while you coddle the feelings of a kitchen servant? Brenna's eyes flashed yellow, a sign of her wolf rising. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? She's human, expendable. If those pups tear her apart, it's not like we're losing valuable pack blood. Maisie's hands trembled, but she kept her eyes down. She'd learned that arguing only made things worse. The Silvercrest pack had taken her in when her mother died 7 years ago. Her mother, who'd been the Alpha King's late wife's human childhood friend. That connection had earned Maisie a place here, but barely. Most days she wondered if starving on the streets wouldn't have been preferable to this daily humiliation. I'll go, she said quietly. Brenna's laugh was sharp. Of course you will. You don't have a choice. The walk to the West Wing felt like a march to execution. Maisie could hear the chaos before she even reached the hallway. Crashes, howls that were too deep for children, the sound of something heavy being thrown against a wall. 2 guards stood outside the nursery doors, both sporting fresh claw marks across their faces. Good luck, one muttered as he pushed the door open just wide enough for her to slip through. The nursery looked like a war zone. Furniture was overturned, curtains shredded, and in the center of it, all were 2 boys who looked no older than 5. But they weren't entirely human anymore. Silver fur sprouted along their arms, their eyes glowed gold in the dim light, and their fingers had elongated into claws. They were caught between forms, trapped in a partial shift that had to be agonizing. The smaller of the 2, his dark hair wild around his face, was backed into a corner, growling at shadows. The other stood protectively in front of his brother, teeth bared, ready to attack anything that came close. Maisie's heart clenched. She'd seen fear aggression before in the stray dogs that used to wander her old neighborhood. These children weren't trying to be vicious. They were terrified. Slowly, carefully, she lowered herself to the floor. Not crouching, that might be seen as preparing to pounce, but sitting cross-legged, making herself as non-threatening as possible. She was already breathing hard from the walk up the stairs, her size making such things difficult, but she forced her breathing to steady, to slow. Hello, she said softly, not making eye contact. My name is Maisie. I heard you 2 were having a hard day. The larger boy's growl intensified. She could see his muscles coiling, preparing to lunge. I have hard days too, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. Days where everything feels wrong, and everyone seems scary, and all you want is for someone to make it stop. Is that how you feel right now? The smaller boy's growling faltered. I know I'm a stranger, and that must be frightening. But I'm not here to hurt you or force you to do anything. I'm just going to sit right here, and if you want, you can sit too. Sometimes sitting together makes hard things a little easier. For long minutes, nothing happened. Maisie simply sat, her hands relaxed in her lap, humming a tune her mother used to sing to her. An old lullaby about moonlight and silver rivers, about finding home when you felt lost. The smaller boy moved first, just a step, then another, until he was close enough that Maisie could see the tears cutting tracks through the dirt on his face. Up close, she could see he was shaking, his partial transformation clearly causing him pain. "Does it hurt?" she asked gently. He nodded, a sob catching in his throat. "I'm sorry." "That must be so scary." Without thinking, Maisie reached out and froze when the larger boy snarled a warning. "It's okay," she said. "I'm just going to touch your brother's hand. Just his hand. To let him know he's not alone. Is that okay?" The protective brother watched her with suspicious gold eyes, but didn't attack. Maisie let her hand rest palm up on the floor between them, an invitation rather than an intrusion. After a moment, the smaller boy placed his clawed fingers in her palm. His skin was burning hot, the fever of a shift gone wrong. Maisie knew enough about wolves to know this was dangerous. If they stayed stuck between forms too long, the damage could be permanent. "My name is Maisie," she said again, gently closing her fingers around his. "What's yours?" Finian, he whispered, his voice caught between boy and wolf. "That's my brother, Callum. We can't change back." "How long have you been like this?" Since this morning, when the bad people came." Maisie's eyes widened. "What bad people?" "The ones who yelled at Papa. They had red eyes and they smelled wrong and it scared us and we shifted, but now we can't stop." Finian's words came faster, panic rising. "Everyone who comes in smells scared of us, and that makes it worse, and we can't stop." Shh, it's okay." Maisie squeezed his hand carefully, mindful of the claws. "Finian, listen to me. I'm not scared of you. I'm scared for you, because I can see you're hurting, but I'm not scared of you. Do you understand the difference?" He nodded slowly. "Good. Now I need you to help me understand something. When you feel scared, does it make your wolf stronger?" Another nod. "And everyone who's been coming in here has been afraid, so their fear has been making your fear worse, which makes your wolf hold on tighter." "We tried to tell them," Callum said suddenly, his voice rough. "But they just kept trying to grab us and force us to change back. That made it worse." "I believe you," Maisie said. "And I'm not going to grab you or force you to do anything. But I am going to try to help, if you'll let me. The first thing we need to do is help your bodies cool down. This fever is making everything harder. Finian, you're already being so brave. Do you think you could be brave enough to let me put some cool water on your face and arms? Will it hurt?" "No, sweetheart. It'll feel good. I promise." Using the pitcher of water that had somehow survived the destruction, Maisie soaked one of the torn curtain pieces and gently pressed it to Finian's forehead. His eyes fluttered closed in relief. "Callum," she said softly, "you've been such a good brother, protecting Finian. He's lucky to have you. But you're burning up too. Will you let me help you?" The older boy's jaw set stubbornly. "I have to stay strong. I have to protect him." "Being strong doesn't mean suffering when you don't have to. Your father, the Alpha King, he's strong, isn't he?" "The strongest in the world," Callum said with fierce pride. "And I bet when he's injured or sick, he lets the healers help him. Not because he's weak, but because being strong means knowing when to accept help so you can keep protecting the people you love. Right?" Callum considered this. Finally, he gave a small nod and moved closer. Within minutes, Maisie had both boys sitting beside her, cool compresses on their foreheads and necks, their breathing starting to even out. "Tell me about your papa," she said, continuing to hum between words. "He's the best," Finian said, leaning against Maisie's soft side. If he noticed her size, he didn't seem to care. He just burrowed against her like she was the safest thing in the world. "He's really tall and strong, and his wolf is silver like the moon. He lets us ride on his back. He's teaching me to fight," Callum added, his claws slowly starting to retract. "Says I'm going to be his best warrior someday. I have to be strong because Finn is the heir, and I have to protect him." "You're both so lucky to have each other," Maisie said, "and to have a papa who loves you so much." "He's been sad, though," Finian said quietly. "Since Mama died. He doesn't smile anymore." Maisie's heart ached. She'd heard the story. The Alpha King's mate had died bringing the twins into the world. 5 years of grief, of a male trying to raise 2 boys alone, while leading one of the most powerful packs in the world. "I bet you 2 make him smile, even when he's sad," she said. "We try," Callum said. "That's why we have to be good. But today was so scary, and we couldn't be good." "Oh, sweet boy. Being scared isn't the same as being bad. You both did the best you could with feelings that were too big to handle. There's no shame in that." As she spoke, she noticed with relief that the silver fur was receding, their eyes fading from gold back to a warm brown. The fever was breaking. Whatever had locked them in their partial shift was releasing its grip. "Keep breathing," she coached. "Nice and slow. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Think about the best day you ever had. Tell me about it." For the next hour, the boys told her stories about running through the forests, about their father teaching them to swim in the pack's lake, about the time they'd snuck into the kitchen and stolen an entire cake. They were still talking when their transformations finally completed, leaving them human again, exhausted but whole. Both boys had fallen asleep against her, Finian in her lap, Callum leaning heavily against her side, when the nursery door finally opened. Maisie looked up and felt her breath catch. She'd never seen the Alpha King up close before. Kitchen servants didn't get audiences with royalty. But there he was, and every story she'd heard hadn't done him justice. Caspian Silvercrest was devastating. Tall didn't begin to cover it. He had to be at least 6.5 feet of pure muscle. His shoulders were so broad they nearly filled the doorframe, his chest straining against the black shirt he wore. She could see the definition of his muscles even through the fabric, the powerful build of a warrior who'd earned every inch of that strength. His face was all hard angles, a strong jaw currently clenched tight, high cheekbones, a straight nose that looked like it had been broken and healed more than once. But his eyes were what caught her. Silver, like starlight, with an intensity that made her want to look away and never stop looking at the same time. His dark hair was tousled, like he'd been running his hands through it in frustration, and she could see the pointed wolf ears that marked him as being close to his wolf, even in human form. When his lips parted in shock at the scene before him, she caught a glimpse of fangs. He was the most beautiful man she'd ever seen, and she was sitting on his floor, covered in sweat and probably smelling like fear and kitchen grease, his children sleeping on her like she was a piece of furniture. "What?" His voice was deep, rough, sending shivers down her spine. "What happened here?" Maisie gently shifted, trying to stand without waking the boys, but they clung tighter. She swallowed hard. "Your Majesty, I'm sorry, I'm Maisie, from the kitchens. They sent me to try to calm the young lords. They were trapped in a partial shift. But they're okay now. The fever broke, and they transformed back safely." Caspian moved into the room with predatory grace, his silver eyes taking in the destruction, the sleeping children, and her. She felt exposed under that gaze, aware of every flaw, every extra pound, every reason she didn't belong in the presence of someone like him. But his expression wasn't disgusted. It was stunned. "3 nursemaids are in the healing wing," he said slowly. 2 more refused to come back. The pack's best child handlers couldn't get within 5 feet of them without being attacked. I was told they'd gone completely feral. His eyes fixed on his sons, sleeping peacefully. "You stopped this. How?" I listened to them, Your Majesty. They were scared. The fear locked them in the transformation. Everyone who came in was afraid of them, which made them more afraid, which made the shift hold tighter. It was a cycle. I just broke it." "Just," he repeated, moving closer. This close she could smell him. Pine and winter night, and something wild that made her hindbrain sit up and take notice. "You make it sound simple. Children aren't that complicated, Your Majesty. They need to feel safe. Once they felt safe, their bodies could relax." Caspian knelt beside them, and Maisie tried not to stare at how the movement made his thigh muscles flex beneath his pants. He reached out and gently brushed Finian's hair from his forehead, the gesture so tender it made Maisie's eyes burn. "You weren't afraid of them," he said. It wasn't a question. No, Your Majesty, they're children. Even in their partial shift, they were just scared children. You're human. His silver eyes met hers. You couldn't have defended yourself if they'd attacked. No, she agreed, but they weren't going to attack. Not really. They just needed someone to see past the teeth and claws to the frightened boys underneath. Something shifted in Caspian's expression, a crack in the granite exterior. What's your name again? Maisie Thornwell, Your Majesty. Maisie, he said like he was testing how it felt. Then he seemed to shake himself. I should take them. You've been here for how long? About 3 hours, I think. 3 hours of them using you as furniture. Your legs must be numb. Actually, they were screaming, but Maisie wasn't about to complain to the Alpha King. I'm fine, Your Majesty, he snorted, actually snorted, in disbelief. You're a terrible liar. Carefully, he reached down and scooped Finian up, the boy barely stirring. Come on, Callum, time for your own bed. Callum's eyes opened, unfocused and sleepy. Papa? I'm here, son. Maisie helped us. Don't let her go away. Maisie's heart squeezed at the desperate note in the boy's voice. I'm not going anywhere, she assured him. I work right here in the estate. You can see me whenever you want. Caspian's eyes were on her again, searching. Can you stand? She tried. Her legs had indeed gone numb, and she stumbled. Faster than should have been possible for someone carrying a child, Caspian's hand shot out and steadied her, his grip on her upper arm firm, but gentle. The touch sent electricity through her body. His hand was so large it wrapped completely around her arm, and she was hyper-aware of the heat of his palm, the slight scrape of claws that hadn't fully retracted. Steady, he said, his voice dropping an octave. His nostrils flared slightly, and something flickered in those silver eyes. Confusion? Recognition? It was gone before she could identify it. Thank you, Your Majesty. She pulled away as soon as she could stand on her own, even though some treacherous part of her wanted to lean into his strength. Papa, carry Maisie, too. Finian mumbled against his father's shoulder. She's tired. I'm sure Maisie can walk, Finn, but you're strong enough to carry everyone. Under other circumstances, it might have been funny. As it was, Maisie wanted to disappear into the floor. I'm perfectly capable of walking, young lord. Thank you, though. Caspian was staring at her again, that strange intensity back in his eyes. I need to speak with you, he said abruptly. After I put the boys to bed. Wait in the hallway. It wasn't a request. Maisie waited outside the nursery for 20 minutes, her heart hammering. What did the Alpha King want to speak to her about? Had she overstepped? Done something wrong? Maybe using the torn curtains for compresses would be seen as destruction of property. Maybe she wasn't supposed to speak to his sons without permission. Maybe. You're panicking. Caspian's voice came from right beside her, and she jumped. She hadn't even heard him approach. I can hear your heartbeat from inside the room. Whatever you're worried about, stop. Yes, Your Majesty. He studied her in the dim hallway light. Who sent you to the nursery? Maisie hesitated. I volunteered, Your Majesty. Volunteered, he repeated flatly. Try again. And this time remember that I can hear your pulse spike when you lie. She flushed. Brenna. She's one of the pack administrators. She suggested I might be able to help. Brenna Darkwater suggested that a human kitchen servant should handle a situation that trained wolf nursemaids couldn't? When he put it that way, it sounded as absurd as it was. Maisie looked at her feet. Look at me. It was an alpha command, layered with power that made her eyes snap up against her will. His expression was thunderous. They sent you in there expecting you to fail. Expecting my sons to hurt you, didn't they? Didn't they? Yes, she whispered. Yes, Your Majesty. It was meant to be a joke. The growl that rumbled from his chest made the walls vibrate. His eyes flashed gold, and for a moment she could see the massive wolf beneath the man's skin. A joke, They sent an unarmed human into a room with 2 feral-shifted wolf children as a joke. But it worked out, Maisie said quickly, inexplicably wanting to calm him. Your sons are safe. That's what matters. What matters is that members of my pack thought it was acceptable to risk your life for their entertainment. His jaw clenched. This won't stand. Please, Your Majesty, I don't want to cause trouble. I'm grateful for my place here, and I don't want your place here. He stepped closer, and she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. He smelled like winter forests and something else, something that made her want to lean closer and breathe him in. What is your place here, Maisie Thornwell? I work in the kitchens, mostly prep work, washing, peeling, chopping, sometimes scrubbing pots, whatever needs doing. You have no formal position? No, Your Majesty, I'm human, and I'm not really suited for positions that interact with pack members. She didn't say why, didn't need to. She could feel the weight of her own body, the way her dress strained across her middle, the soft flesh of her arms. Everything about her that made her wrong for this world of supernatural beauty. Something dangerous flickered across Caspian's face. Not suited, he repeated. Because you're human? Among other reasons? Name them. Your Majesty, name them, Maisie. She felt tears prick her eyes and hated herself for it. Because I'm fat, she said bluntly. Because I'm not beautiful or graceful or any of the things wolves value. Because every day I'm reminded that I'm only here out of charity, and that charity has limits. Is that what you wanted to hear? The silence that followed was deafening. Maisie wanted to run, to hide in the kitchen where she belonged, to never face those silver eyes again. Who told you that? Caspian's voice was soft now, which was somehow more terrifying than when he'd been growling. Who told you that you weren't beautiful? No one had to tell me. I have eyes. Then your eyes are lying to you. Maisie's head snapped up. What? Caspian moved closer still, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. I've lived for 32 years. I've met thousands of wolves, dozens of other supernatural beings, countless humans. I've seen beauty in all its forms, and I'm telling you, Maisie Thornwell, that your eyes are lying to you. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This had to be some kind of trick or dream or, Your Majesty, you don't have to. I don't say things I don't mean. His hand came up, and one calloused finger tilted her chin up. The touch was gentle, but she felt it everywhere. You saved my sons today. You walked into a situation that battle-hardened wolves couldn't face, and you saved them with nothing but courage and compassion. You saw them as people, not problems. And you expect me to believe you have no value? I just did what anyone would, what no one else could, he interrupted. Maisie, look at me. Really look at me. She did. She saw the silver eyes that seemed to see straight through her, the sharp intelligence behind them, the weight of leadership and loss. She saw a man who'd been hurt, who was trying desperately to protect what remained of his family. She saw loneliness that echoed her own. I want you to work with my sons, he said, officially, as their caretaker. Maisie's mouth fell open. Your Majesty, I'm not qualified. You're more qualified than anyone else in this pack. You proved that today. The other wolves will never accept a human in such a position, especially not someone like me. His eyes narrowed. Someone like you? You mean someone who treats my children with kindness instead of fear? Someone who values their emotional well-being over maintaining control? Yes, I suppose you're right. Most wolves wouldn't accept that. His hand was still on her chin, his thumb absently brushing her jawline in a way that made her shiver. Good thing I'm the Alpha King and I don't particularly care what they accept. But the boys asked for you, both of them. Finian wanted to make sure you'd come say goodnight tomorrow. Callum asked if you could teach him the song you were humming. Caspian's expression softened slightly. They haven't asked for anyone since their mother died. Not like this. So I'm asking you, Maisie, will you help me with my sons? Put like that, what could she say? Yes, Your Majesty. Good. He stepped back, taking his intoxicating scent and overwhelming presence with him. You'll move into the family wing tomorrow. There's a room adjacent to the nursery for the caretaker. You'll take your meals with us, and you'll have a clothing allowance appropriate to your position. Salary will be discussed with my steward in the morning. Maisie's head was spinning. The family wing? Your Majesty, that's not... People will talk. People are always talking. Let them. But my reputation will be that of my son's caretaker. A position of honor and trust. His eyes gleamed with something that might have been amusement. Unless you're worried about being alone with me? No. The word came out too quickly, too forcefully. I mean, I trust you, Your Majesty. I just don't want to cause problems. The only problem would be my sons being afraid and having no one to comfort them. You've solved that problem. Everything else is secondary. He turned to leave, then paused. Maisie? Yes, Your Majesty? Thank you. For today. For seeing my boys when others only saw monsters. He was gone before she could respond, disappearing down the hallway with that supernatural grace. Maisie stood alone in the corridor, her mind reeling. What had just happened? The walk back to the servant quarters felt surreal. By the time she reached the kitchen, the news had already spread. The other servants stared at her with expressions ranging from shock to suspicion to outright hostility. Well, well, Brenna said, leaning against the doorframe. The fat girl survived. Color me surprised. I really thought those pups would... Would what? The voice came from behind Brenna, making her jump. Garrett, the head steward, stepped into view. His expression was icy. Would kill her? Because that's what the Alpha King seems to think you were hoping for. Brenna paled. I never said... You sent an unarmed human into a room with 2 feral-shifted children as a joke. The Alpha King is... displeased. Garrett's tone suggested displeased was a massive understatement. He's requested your presence in his office. Immediately. As Brenna scurried away, visibly shaking, Garrett turned to Maisie. His expression was unreadable. The Alpha King has informed me that you're to be made official caretaker to the young lords. Your belongings are to be moved to the family wing tomorrow morning. I'll arrange for appropriate clothing to be sent up as well. The kitchen erupted in whispers. Is this real? Maisie asked quietly. Garrett's stern expression cracked slightly, revealing something that might have been approval. Very real. And if I may speak plainly, it's about time someone in this pack recognized actual capability over social politics. You'll do well, Miss Thornwell. The boys need someone like you. That night, lying in her narrow cot in the servants' quarters for the last time, Maisie couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying the day, the fear, the triumph, those silver eyes looking at her like she was someone worth seeing. Your eyes are lying to you. Had he meant it? Or was it just pretty words from a king who needed her to care for his children? She pressed her hands to her warm cheeks and told herself it didn't matter. This was about the boys, not about the impossible flutter in her chest when Caspian Silvercrest looked at her. It didn't matter at all. The family wing was terrifying. Maisie stood in the doorway of her new room, her new suite, really, and tried to process it. The space was bigger than the entire servants' quarters. A massive bed dominated one wall, covered in soft linens that probably cost more than she'd earned in her entire life. There was a sitting area with plush chairs, a writing desk by the window, and a door that led to a private bathroom with an actual clawfoot tub. This is too much, she said to the maid who'd shown her up, a young wolf named Petra, who'd been refreshingly kind. This is the caretaker's suite, Petra said with a smile. The Queen had it before. It's been empty for 5 years. The Queen's suite. Maisie felt ill. I shouldn't be here. The Alpha King says you should, and that's what matters. Petra gestured to the large wardrobe. Your new clothes arrived this morning, and the young lords are very excited that you're here. Lord Finian has already tried to visit 3 times. As if summoned, there was a knock at the door, but it was Caspian who entered, not the boys. He'd changed from yesterday's clothes into dark pants and a simple black shirt that somehow made him look even more imposing. The muscles in his arms flexed as he crossed them over his chest. "Everything satisfactory?" he asked. "Your Majesty, this is too much. I don't need— Yes or no, Maisie? Is the room satisfactory?" She swallowed. "Yes." "Good. The boys want to have breakfast with you. They're in the family dining room, making the cook nervous by helping." His lips quirked, almost a smile, and Maisie's heart did something stupid in her chest. "I thought you might want to rescue the kitchen staff." "Of course, Your Majesty." She moved toward the door, acutely aware of his presence behind her. She'd changed into one of the new dresses that had been provided. A soft blue thing that actually fit her curves, rather than just covering them. It had taken her 10 minutes to convince herself it looked acceptable and not ridiculous. The walk to the family dining room was short, and she could hear the boys before she could see them. "No, Finn, you have to crack it gently, or you get shells in the eggs. Finn, that's too hard. I'm doing it right. You're not the boss of eggs." Maisie couldn't help but smile as she entered the room. Both boys were at the counter, covered in flour and what looked like egg yolk. The cook, a stout wolfwoman named Helena, looked torn between amusement and despair. "Maisie!" Finian spotted her first and launched himself across the room. She barely had time to brace before he collided with her, his arms wrapping around her waist. "You're here! You're really here! Papa said you were, but I had to make sure." "I'm here," she confirmed, hugging him back. Over his head, she saw Caspian watching them with that intense silver gaze. "We're making breakfast," Callum announced, more reserved than his brother, but with equal enthusiasm. "I'm being very careful with the eggs." "I can see that. You're doing a wonderful job." The dining room was less formal than Maisie had expected. A large table, yes, but with comfortable chairs and morning sunlight streaming through the windows. Caspian took the head of the table, and the boys immediately insisted Maisie sit right next to him. "Tell us a story," Finian demanded through a mouthful of pancake. "Finn, manners," Caspian said, his tone gentle but firm, "and let Maisie eat." "It's all right, Your Majesty." Maisie accepted a plate from Helena, trying not to feel self-conscious about the amount of food on it. "What kind of story do you want?" "A true one," Callum said. "About when you were little." So Maisie told them about growing up in the human city, about her mother who'd been a seamstress, about the stray cat she'd befriended who turned out to be pregnant and produced 6 kittens in her bedroom closet. She told them about learning to bake bread and the time she'd accidentally used salt instead of sugar and given her mother's entire book club food poisoning. The boys laughed, and she noticed Caspian's lips quirking again, that almost smile that made him look younger, less burdened. "Your turn," she said to the boys. "Tell me a story about you." They launched into a tale about the time they'd snuck out to the Pack Lake at midnight and encountered a family of raccoons who'd stolen their clothes. The way Caspian dropped his head into his hand suggested this story was news to him. "You did what?" he asked, his voice strained. "It was fine, Papa," Callum assured him. "We shifted to wolf form to chase them and got the clothes back." "You were 4 years old and unsupervised at the lake at midnight. But we got the clothes back," Finian said, as if this was the important part. Maisie bit her lip to keep from laughing at Caspian's expression, equal parts exasperated and fondly amused. "We're going to have a discussion about appropriate nighttime activities," he said dryly. "But later, after Maisie has had time to settle in." The morning flowed easily into afternoon. The boys showed Maisie their favorite spots in the estate, the library where they were learning to read, the training yard where Callum practiced with wooden swords, the garden where Finian liked to look for bugs. Everywhere they went, pack members stared. Some looked confused, others disapproving. A few looked downright hostile. Maisie tried to ignore it, but she felt each stare like a weight. "They're just not used to you yet," Callum said, noticing her discomfort with surprising perception. "They'll see you're good. Or Papa will make them see," Finian added cheerfully. That evening, as Maisie was helping the boys prepare for bed, Finian looked up at her with serious brown eyes. "You're not going to leave, are you?" "Why would I leave?" she asked, kneeling beside his bed. "The others left. Even when they weren't hurt, they said they couldn't come back. They said we were too much." Maisie's heart cracked. "Oh, sweetheart, you're not too much. You're just right. And I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "I promise." She didn't hear Caspian enter the room, but she felt his presence, that electric awareness that made her skin prickle. He stood in the doorway, watching her tuck his sons in, and the expression on his face was unreadable. After the boys finally fell asleep, she found him waiting in the hallway. "You're good with them," he said quietly. "They're wonderful boys. It's easy to be good with them. Others haven't found it easy." He leaned against the wall, and the casual posture shouldn't have been attractive, but absolutely was. "I've been through 12 caretakers in 5 years. Most last less than a month. The boys are challenging." "The boys are grieving," Maisie corrected gently. "They lost their mother, and they're terrified of losing anyone else they attach to. So they test people, push them away before they can be left again. It's not about being challenging. It's about being scared." Caspian stared at her. "How do you know that?" "Because I did the same thing after my mother died. I pushed away every kind person at the pack house, convinced they'd leave eventually anyway. Better to drive them away myself than wait for it to happen." She met his eyes. "Grief makes us do illogical things. You understand them." It wasn't a question. "Not just theoretically. You actually understand them. I understand loss, and I understand what it's like to feel like you don't belong anywhere." She smiled sadly. "Your sons and I have that in common." Something shifted in Caspian's expression. A softening, a crack in the Alpha King armor. "You belong here, Maisie. With them. With—" He stopped himself. "They need you." "I'm happy to help them, Your Majesty." "Caspian. I'm sorry?" "Call me Caspian. At least when we're in family quarters. The formality is exhausting." He ran a hand through his dark hair, the gesture betraying his weariness. "It's been a long day." "Then you should rest, Your Caspian." His name felt strange on her tongue. Intimate. He smiled then, a real smile that transformed his entire face. "You're going to fit in just fine here, Maisie Thornwell, even if you don't believe it yet." He left her standing in the hallway, her heart racing, wondering what she'd gotten herself into. The first week passed in a blur of routine and revelation. Maisie woke each morning to small fists pounding on her door. The boys, eager to start the day. They'd have breakfast together, sometimes with Caspian if his schedule allowed, sometimes just the 3 of them. Then lessons, which Maisie discovered the boys had been neglecting. Their previous caretakers had given up trying to make them sit still. Maisie found that lessons went better when they incorporated movement. They practiced letters while jumping rope, counted while running laps in the garden, learned geography by drawing maps in the dirt. The boys thrived under the unconventional approach. "You're a natural teacher," Caspian observed one afternoon, watching from the garden doorway as Maisie and the boys acted out a historical battle. She flushed at the praise. "They just need engagement. Traditional sitting-still learning doesn't work for everyone. Clearly." He stepped into the garden and both boys immediately ran to him. "Papa!" "Maisie taught us about the Great Pack War, and I got to be grandfather, and Finn was the enemy Alpha, and we had a battle, and I won." "Did you learn about the political causes of the war?" Caspian asked, lifting Finian into his arms effortlessly. "Economics and territorial disputes complicated by interpack marriage alliances that created conflicting loyalties," Finian recited proudly. Caspian's eyebrows rose. "I'm impressed. Maisie says history is just stories about real people, so we should learn it like stories. It's more fun that way." Maisie is very wise. Those silver eyes found hers, and she felt the weight of his regard. "Walk with me? Boys, go wash up before dinner." They groaned but obeyed, racing toward the house. Caspian gestured to a path that wound through the gardens, and Maisie fell into step beside him. "The pack is talking," he said without preamble. Her stomach sank. "I know. About how the boys have improved, how they're calmer, better behaved, actually learning." He glanced at her. "About how they laugh now. I haven't heard them laugh like this since, in a long time." Relief flooded her. "Oh, I thought you meant, they're also talking about you," he continued. "Some of it isn't kind. I've dealt with the worst offenders, but I want you to know I'm aware of it. If anyone says something to you directly, it's fine, she interrupted. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be used to it. Maybe not, but I am. She stopped walking, turning to face him. Caspian, I know what I am. I know I don't look like other wolves, that I'm not what people expect in this position. I know there are whispers about why you really hired me, about what I must be doing to keep the position. His eyes flashed gold, a growl rumbling in his chest. Who said that? It doesn't matter. My point is, I know there will always be talk, but your sons are happy, and that's all that matters to me. Whatever people want to say about me personally, I can handle it. You shouldn't have to handle it. He stepped closer, and Maisie's breath caught. Maisie, you need to understand something. You're under my protection now. Not just as an employee, but as someone living in my personal quarters, caring for my children. Any insult to you is an insult to my judgment, and I don't take that lightly. I don't want to cause problems within the pack. You're not causing anything. Others are choosing to be small-minded and cruel. That's on them, not you. His hand came up, hesitating for a moment before he tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was so gentle, so unexpected, that Maisie forgot to breathe. You've given me my sons back. They smile again. They sleep through the night without nightmares. They're learning and growing and acting like actual children instead of scared, angry animals. Do you have any idea what that means to me? I'm just doing my job. No, you're performing miracles. His thumb brushed her cheek and she realized she was crying. Why are you crying? Because no one's ever, she laughed wetly, no one's ever defended me like this. Like I matter. You matter. The words were fierce, almost angry. You matter to the boys. You matter to this pack, whether they're smart enough to see it yet. And you matter to... He stopped himself again, jaw clenching. His hand dropped. We should head back. Dinner will be ready soon. He walked away, leaving Maisie to wonder what he'd been about to say. The incident happened 2 weeks into her tenure. Maisie was in the market with the boys, purchasing supplies for an art project they wanted to do. The pack's market was usually safe, vendors who'd known the boys since birth, pack members who respected the Alpha King's sons even if they didn't like their new caretaker. But Brenna was there. She'd been demoted after the joke incident, stripped of her position and assigned to basic administrative tasks. The humiliation had clearly festered. Well, if it isn't the little human playing dress-up, Brenna said loudly, drawing attention. Tell me, Maisie, do you actually think you're fooling anyone? Maisie kept her voice calm. We're just shopping, Brenna. We don't want trouble. Trouble? Like the trouble you've caused by worming your way into the Alpha King's bed? The boys gasped. Callum's hand found Maisie's, squeezing tight. That's not appropriate, Maisie said firmly. And it's not true. Please, everyone knows why you're really there. The fat human found a way to make herself useful on her back. It's actually impressive, in a disgusting sort of way. The market had gone silent, everyone watching. Maisie felt the familiar shame burning through her, but beneath it was something else. Anger. How dare this woman speak like this in front of the children? You need to stop, Maisie said, her voice low. The boys don't need to hear this. The boys need to hear that their precious Maisie is just another gold digger using them to get to their father. Brenna stepped closer, her eyes flashing yellow. You're nothing. A fat human servant who got lucky. And when the Alpha King gets tired of... That's enough. The voice was quiet, but filled with such power that every wolf in the market immediately dropped their eyes in submission. Caspian had arrived. He moved through the crowd like a storm, and Maisie had never seen him look like this. Eyes fully gold, fangs bared, claws extended. He was terrifying. He placed himself between Maisie and Brenna, his considerable size making the other woman look tiny. You were warned, he said softly. I told you what would happen if you continued to harass Maisie. I was just spreading lies about a member of my household, insulting my son's caretaker, making sexually explicit accusations in front of my children. Each word was clipped, precise. The only question is whether I exile you or execute you for insubordination." Brenna went white. "Your Majesty, please. Caspian, don't." Maisie found her voice. "She's not worth it." He glanced back at her, something flickering in those gold eyes. "She insulted you. She's scared and angry and lashing out. I understand that. But she's not worth you compromising your morals." Maisie stepped around him, facing Brenna directly. "I'm sorry you lost your position. I'm sorry you're hurting. But I won't let you hurt these boys with your poison. If you have a problem with me, fine. But leave the children out of it." Brenna stared at her, something like shame crossing her features. I'm sorry. To the young lords. That was inappropriate." "Apology noted." Caspian's voice was still hard. "But you're banished from Packlands. You have until sundown to leave." "Caspian," Maisie started. "This isn't negotiable." He looked at her, and she saw the alpha in him. Implacable. Absolute. "I told you, Maisie. You're under my protection. Anyone who insults you insults me. I won't tolerate it." Brenna was escorted away by pack guards, and the crowd dispersed quickly. Maisie knelt beside the boys, checking that they were okay. "Are you all right?" she asked them both. "Why did she say those mean things?" Finian asked, his lower lip trembling. "Because she was hurt and angry, and hurt people sometimes say hurtful things. But none of it was true. You know that, right?" Both boys nodded, but they looked shaken. Caspian knelt beside them, his transformation receding. "Boys, I want you to know something. Maisie is here because you need her, and because she's exceptional at caring for you. Nothing else matters. And anyone who suggests otherwise is lying. Understood?" "Yes, Papa," they said in unison. "Good. Now let's finish shopping and get home. I think we could all use some quiet time." That evening, after the boys were in bed, Caspian found Maisie in the garden. She was sitting on a bench, staring at the moon. "You're angry with me," he said, sitting beside her. The bench groaned slightly under his weight, and Maisie was acutely aware of his thigh pressing against hers. "I don't think banishment was necessary." "I disagree. She was just words, Caspian. I've heard worse. That's the problem." He turned to face her, and in the moonlight his eyes were silver again. "You've heard worse. You've been treated like this your entire time in my pack, and I didn't see it. I didn't protect you. That ends now. I don't need protecting. Everyone needs protecting sometimes." His hand found hers, dwarfing it. "Maisie, I need you to understand something. My sons need you. They've attached to you in a way they haven't attached to anyone since their mother died. Losing you would devastate them. I'm not going anywhere. But you'd consider it if the harassment got bad enough. Don't deny it. I can see it in your eyes. You're used to making yourself small, to accepting less than you deserve, because you think it's all you're worth." His grip tightened. "I won't let you do that. Not here. Not with my sons counting on you." "Is that the only reason?" The question escaped before she could stop it. "Because of the boys?" He stared at her, something intense and almost desperate in his gaze. "No," he said finally. "It's not." Her heart hammered. "Then why?" "Because when I'm near you, I can breathe for the first time in 5 years. Because you make my sons laugh and make me remember what it feels like to smile. Because you're brave and kind, and you see the best in people even when they don't deserve it." He raised their joined hands, pressing them to his chest. She could feel his heart racing beneath her palm. "Because you walk into danger to protect children that aren't yours. Because you speak truth even when it costs you. Because you're beautiful in every way that matters, and some ways you don't even recognize." Maisie couldn't speak, couldn't think. "I know this is complicated," he continued. "I know I'm your employer and the Alpha King, and that there's a power imbalance that makes this inappropriate. But I need you to know, you're not just the caretaker to me. You haven't been for a while." "Caspian, you don't have to say anything. I know I'm asking too much, putting this on you when you're still settling in. But I couldn't let you think that the only reason I defend you is because of the boys. They're part of it. But Maisie. His free hand came up, cupping her face with devastating gentleness. You've become important to me. More important than is probably wise. She should pull away. Should establish boundaries. Should do anything except lean into his touch like she was starving for it. I don't understand, she whispered. Why me? I'm nobody. I'm not. You're everything. His thumb brushed her lower lip, and she shivered. You're strong and gentle and fiercely protective. You're smart and creative, and you make me laugh. You're soft in all the ways that make me want to pull you close and keep you safe forever. And you're beautiful, Maisie. So damn beautiful it hurts to look at you sometimes. I'm not. Yes, you are. He leaned closer, his forehead resting against hers. I know you don't see it. I know you've been told otherwise your entire life. But I see you, Maisie. All of you. And you're magnificent. She was crying again, silent tears that he wiped away with careful fingers. I don't know what to say, she admitted. Say you'll stay. Say you won't let their cruelty drive you away. Say you'll give me a chance to prove that I mean every word. I'll stay, she whispered. I promise. He pulled her against him then, wrapping her in his arms, and Maisie let herself sink into his strength. He was so warm, so solid, and she felt safer than she had in years. Thank you, he murmured into her hair, for everything you've done for us, for being patient with the boys, for being patient with me. They sat like that until the moon rose high, two damaged people finding comfort in each other's arms. The next month was the happiest of Maisie's life. The boys thrived, learning and growing under her care. Callum's protective instincts were channeled into actual training, and he took to his lessons with enthusiasm. Finian discovered a love of books and could often be found reading to himself in quiet corners. And Caspian courted her. There was no other word for it. He brought her flowers from the garden. He arranged for her favorite foods to appear at meals. He stole moments with her, a conversation in the library, a walk in the gardens, sitting together while the boys played. He never pushed for more than she was ready to give, but the attraction between them was undeniable. Every accidental touch felt electric. Every smile made her heart race. She was falling for him, and she was terrified. You're happy, her friend Helena observed one morning in the kitchen. Maisie still visited sometimes, missing the familiar space. I can see it in your face. I am, Maisie admitted. Is that foolish? Why would it be foolish? Because he's the Alpha King, and I'm... me. Helena snorted. You're the woman who saved his sons and brought joy back into his life. That's who you are. Everything else is just noise. But the noise was getting louder. The pack had noticed their Alpha King's interest in the human caretaker. Most accepted it with varying degrees of grace. Others were less kind. She's bewitched him, Maisie overheard one evening. She'd been bringing the boys back from the library when she passed a group of pack wolves. No other explanation. A powerful alpha like him, interested in a fat human? It's unnatural. Maybe he likes that she's soft, another said with a snicker. Plenty to hold on to. The words hurt, but Maisie kept walking. She wouldn't let them see her pain. But Callum had heard. They're idiots, he said fiercely. Papa likes you because you're nice and smart, and you make us happy. Yeah, Finian agreed. And you're pretty. You smell like cookies and sunshine. Maisie hugged them both, her heart aching with love for these boys. Thank you, sweethearts. That night, she dreamed of her mother. In the dream, her mother took her hands and said, Baby girl, you deserve happiness. Stop waiting for permission to take it. She woke with tears on her cheeks and a decision in her heart. She found Caspian in his office, reviewing border reports. He looked up when she entered, and his expression softened immediately. Maisie, is everything all right? The boys are fine, sleeping soundly. She closed the door behind her, her heart hammering. I need to talk to you. He set down his papers immediately, giving her his full attention. What is it? I'm tired of being afraid, she said. I'm tired of letting other people's opinions dictate my life. I'm tired of thinking I don't deserve good things just because I don't look like what people expect. He stood, moving around the desk toward her. Maisie, let me finish. She held up a hand. You said you see me. All of me. And that you think I'm beautiful. I know you are. I want to believe that. I'm trying to believe it. But it's hard when I've spent my whole life being told otherwise. She took a breath. But then I think about how the boys look at me, like I hung the moon, and how you look at me, like I'm someone special. And I think maybe I've been letting the wrong people define me. Maisie, I'm falling in love with you. The words burst out, unstoppable. I know it's fast and probably foolish, and there are 100 reasons why it's complicated. But I am. I'm falling in love with you and your sons, and this life we're building together. And I'm terrified, but I'm also tired of being afraid. The silence that followed felt eternal. Then Caspian crossed the space between them in 2 strides, cupped her face in both hands, and kissed her. It was gentle at first, almost reverent, like she was something precious. But when she gasped against his mouth, something broke in him. The kiss deepened, his arms wrapping around her, pulling her against his hard body. Maisie felt like she was drowning in him. His taste, his scent, the overwhelming presence of him. His hands were in her hair, at her waist, mapping the curves she'd always hated. But under his touch, they felt right. Beautiful, even. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Caspian rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he said roughly. I've been falling in love with you since you sat on my son's nursery floor and sang them a lullaby. You're brave and kind and so beautiful, it breaks my heart. And if you'll have me, have us, I swear I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you know how extraordinary you are. Yes, she whispered. Yes. He kissed her again, deeper this time, and Maisie felt years of shame and hurt melting away under the heat of his devotion. The official announcement came a week later. Caspian called a pack meeting in the Great Hall, and Maisie stood beside him, the boys flanking her other side. She felt exposed under the eyes of hundreds of wolves, but Caspian's hand was firm around hers. I've called you here to make an announcement, Caspian said, his alpha voice carrying through the hall. Many of you have noticed that Maisie Thornwell has become a permanent fixture in the family quarters. Some of you have questioned my decision to employ a human as caretaker to my sons. Others have been less kind in your assessments. Maisie felt the weight of all those stares. I want to make something absolutely clear, Caspian continued. Maisie is not just my son's caretaker. She's the woman I intend to court with the goal of making her my mate and your queen. The hall erupted in murmurs. Maisie's heart pounded. I know this is unusual. A human queen is unprecedented in Silvercrest history. But Maisie has proven herself more than worthy. She saved my sons when no one else could. She's brought joy and stability back into my household. She's brave, intelligent, compassionate, and strong, and she has my complete devotion. He raised their joined hands. Anyone who has a problem with this can take it up with me directly. But know this, Maisie is under my personal protection. Any insult to her is an insult to me. Any threat against her will be met with the full force of my authority as Alpha King. She is mine to protect, mine to cherish, and soon, mine to call my mate. This is not negotiable. The silence was absolute. Then, from the crowd, someone began to clap. Then another. Within moments, the entire hall was applauding, some more enthusiastically than others, but even the reluctant were joining in. Maisie felt tears streaming down her face. Long live the future queen! Someone shouted. Long live Queen Maisie! Others echoed. Caspian pulled her close, kissing her temple. You're mine now, he murmured. Mine to protect, mine to love, and I will spend every day making sure you know how precious you are. The boys grabbed her hands, bouncing with excitement. Does this mean you'll be our mama? Finian asked hopefully. Maisie knelt, pulling both boys into a hug. If you'll have me." "Yes," they said in unison. That night, after the celebrations had died down and the boys were asleep, Caspian led Maisie to the balcony off his chambers. The moon was full, bathing everything in silver light. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. "Claiming me publicly like that? There will be those who never accept a human queen. Then they can leave the pack." He pulled her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her from behind. "Maisie, I've spent 5 years in darkness. Grief and duty and responsibility with no joy, no light. You brought light back into my life. You brought my sons back to me. You made me remember what it feels like to hope." She turned in his arms, looking up at his beautiful face. "I love you. I love you, too. So much it terrifies me." His hand came up, tracing her cheek, her jaw, her lips. "You're everything I never knew I needed. My son's savior, my heart's ease, my perfect mate. I'm not perfect. You're perfect for me, for us.